Well, hey, welcome back.
Hello. It's been a long week and it's only
I
Wednesday.
know, right? I feel like last week flew by, but this week has not. And
Yeah.
I don't know why. It's
Yeah.
just sometimes it's the weeks, depends on what you have going on in your schedule or.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think last week flew by.
Uh-huh.
Monday, I was traveling back from being in San Diego. I think you had your son home from
Yeah.
school, so that probably went
Oh,
faster
yeah.
than you
No, we
wanted
did
it
have a lot
to.
to do last week when he was here.
Uh
That's
huh.
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of appointments.
Mm.
He had to get those doctor's appointments in while he was here. He did not want to, but I told him, I said, you got to do it. Some of these are like, those 6-month appointments or the annual appointments, you just gotta get them in when you gotta get them in.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. It's funny how adulting starts creeping up.
well, he even said, when he was leaving Sunday, he was like, "I just did not plan on my week to be that busy." He said, "I had things that I didn't get to do, people that I didn't get to see."
Hmm.
So I was like, "Well, that's that's life," but he did get to do a lot still. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, that's good.
I hope this is not gonna creak this whole episode, because if it does, everybody's just gonna have to hear it because I cannot edit it out.
Yeah. Well, I think it's fine.
This is really the only reason why I don't like recording up here, because
Mhm.
of this couch. It's very private, so we have plenty of quiet, and no one's gonna disturb us, but this couch moves, and I feel like I move a lot more than you do because 'cause I'm kinda fidgety and looking at my notes and moving around, so sorry, y'all.
Well, as a first or maybe a second, I have notes tonight.
Well,
So that never
good.
happens.
Well,
I
I
made
knew
Lisa
listen,
nervous.
I will say though, I have 5 pages of notes, but, I have a little bitty notebook, but I could bullet point everything, and I do, but if I do that, like, I'm afraid while we're up here and trying to, like, share the microphone and give each other, space to talk, I'm gonna forget what all I wanted to say. So I
Mhm.
kinda write out all of my thoughts, and then I just, gloss over it as we're talking. So I do have 5 pages. I promise I won't talk the whole time.
I have a lot of content too.
Listen,
So
me second that.
we may
Sorry.
be up here for 2 hours.
Well, that reminded me, saying that, because I can be long-winded, like, when I get started on something, okay?
Same.
I know I can. It reminded me when I was writing this today, um, I was like, "Something that you will never hear me say," and my dad said that Trump is the same way. He said, "You know how Trump will just ramble, especially if he goes off script." He said, "Something you will never hear Trump say is long story short." I'm like, "That is so true."
Yeah.
That is one thing that will never come out of his mouth.
Yeah.
So,
You're not wrong.
it may come out of our mouths tonight,
That's so funny.
but we'll see. Anyway.
Well, when we were talking about this week, like what did we want to talk about? Because we are trying to be more intentional instead of just
Yeah,
two old biddies yakking.
yeah.
Um, we Lisa texted me her idea. I loved it immediately, and I think it's relevant right now for
Mhm.
us, pretty big time in our lives. And it's basically finding your peace and finding like yourself where
Yeah.
you are in life.
Well, and I knew that you would have a lot to say on
Oh,
this,
yeah.
and I know, you stay so busy, and
Mhm.
so I feel like this is gonna sound worse than how I mean it. I feel like I probably prepare more than you
Yes.
do, just, like, setting up, writing my notes so I'm not all over the place, but I knew that you would have a lot
Oh, yeah.
to say on this subject, so that's why I texted you. I guess it was Saturday.
Mhm.
I meant to text you Friday
Yeah.
because I was trying to give you enough time to,
Mhm.
like, get your thoughts together and get it organized, because I knew, I was like, "She's gonna have a lot to say on this."
Oh, yeah.
So,
For
here
sure.
we go. We're just gonna dive in.
Yeah.
You wanna start off?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I will say first of all, finding your peace and discovering yourself, I don't think peace is necessarily something that you can go looking for
Yeah.
because many people spend their whole lives looking for it and
Yeah,
never find it.
exactly.
I think it's more about aligning with who you really are.
Mhm.
And me at this phase of my life is kind of like rediscovering who I
Yeah.
am.
Well, that's so funny that you say that because I can tell already that our thoughts and our notes are gonna overlap. I mean,
Mhm.
you've already said 2 things that I sort of alluded to as well. One of which is, yes, peace is discovering who you are, like you
Mhm.
said, but it's also, well, let me back up. One bullet point to that is accepting others for who they are,
So
because
deep.
it is,
Yeah.
because I have trouble with that,
Mhm.
with anybody.
Mhm.
Um, I think a lot of it stems from, and I've talked about this before, is like my fear of people that I care about making the same mistakes that I did.
Mhm.
And so I try to change the path somewhat. And that's not
Yeah.
always bad. I mean, it can be a good thing too.
Yeah.
That's part of being a parent, or, a wife or a friend. You're trying to hold someone accountable, but you know what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
part of that piece is, if you can just accept people for who they are,
Mhm.
that's going to bring a lot of peace to you, because at the end of the day, you're really, when it boils down to it, you're not going to change anyone. But here,
Yeah.
I'm already getting off on a tangent, but I'll let you finish your thought. But yes, I mean, it goes both ways. You have to find yourself too and remember who you are.
Yeah.
But it's always a two-way street.
Yeah. So, very good point. You can make yourself miserable
Mm
trying to change
hmm. Mm
others.
hmm.
And I've done a lot of that in my life.
Yeah.
And that you are 100% right. There is no peace there
Yeah.
because,
Or if people's tried to change us.
oh, yeah,
I mean,
don't
again, it goes
do
both
it.
ways.
Don't do
Yeah.
it because it's not happening.
No.
But I think, too, number one, when people show you who they are, believe them.
Mm hmm.
And that's something that I struggle with because I want to give everybody the benefit of the doubt and I want to give them chance after chance to be the person that I think they should be or
Yeah.
are. But I also think we judge other people by their actions, but we judge ourselves by our
Right.
intentions. And I can have the greatest intentions and not follow through, but I think I'm right.
Right.
And that
Right.
that is something that may be disturbing someone else's peace.
Because the other person, again, you've got to look at it both ways. The other person, if you go by that standard, is, well, what were their intentions
Mhm.
on what they said or what they did?
Yep.
And so, to your point, we tend to not look at it that way. It's just
Yes.
about what you said or what you did that
Yes.
made us feel a certain way.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely. I think too it's at this age, and I can only speak for myself, but I think it will resonate with a lot of people that are our age. For me, it's also about years of my life have been eaten up, and I don't mean eaten up as in bad,
yeah.
um, because none of it has been negative, but eaten up with other people's stuff. So, responsibilities.
Hmm.
When you see yourself as a mother, we've talked about this too. What do you do with yourself when you're no longer needed in
Right.
that way?
Right.
So you've had responsibilities, you've had children, you've had parents, you've had all these things that have eaten up your time. And now you look in the mirror and you say, what do I want to do? What brings me joy?
Right.
Not what expectations are from other people, but what makes me happy.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, I wrote that down too. Is you know It's all interchangeable. In my notes, I've got so much written down about peace, joy, and happiness, and I'll get
Mhm.
into that in a minute, but it's, who am I now? You kind of always know who you are, but like,
Mhm.
who am I now at this
Mhm.
stage in life, in my 50s, with grown children, no one at home anymore? Who am I now? So, I know I'm still a mom.
Mhm.
Okay. I'm still a wife, a daughter, a sibling. I'm still a friend, but has my purpose changed?
Mhm.
So, of course, it has somewhat,
Mhm.
but I think it's figuring that out, because it can be, you know, sad, lonely, confusing when
Mhm.
you really don't know what your purpose is
Yes.
anymore. And that's what I was going through a little bit last year. I mean, I still kind of am, but it's like, what do I do with myself now? What am I
Mhm.
supposed to do
Mhm.
at this age? So I've, you know, finished the purpose side of raising my children,
Mhm.
teaching them good manners, but what does that look like now? So I think it's about stepping back
Mhm.
and listening as a parent. I'm talking about as a parent,
Mhm.
as a mom of grown children, listening, being supportive,
Mhm.
being respectful. And again, those are things that we do anyway, but it's just different because before you were telling your children what to do and how to do it and when to do it.
Mhm.
And that's not the case now. So,
Yep.
how do you juggle knowing when to step back and when not to?
I think it's really easy for us to find our identity in that,
Yeah,
and we had to for years, and we wanted to. It was joy for
decades for
us,
me. Yeah,
but we found our identity, and so when I would get a text in a group thread about a baseball game, it was, Eden's mom,
right.
or a band thing, it was Kate's mom.
Hmm.
Well, now I'm not just Eden's mom or Kate's mom anymore. They have their own lives, and I am still their mom, but that relationship has changed. We've talked about that ad nauseum,
Right.
about how we become friends and just different phases of life. But I think if I only identified myself as their mom for years and years, and I did,
Yeah,
that was really hard when they went off to school or when
right.
they moved out. And I think that's really hard to reinvent yourself so many times.
Yeah, because you also change as a person.
Yes.
So what you thought maybe you what hopes or dreams or plans that you had for yourself 10 years ago,
Mhm.
it may not be the same
That's right.
hopes and dreams and plans now.
Mhm.
Things change, circumstances change.
Mhm.
But let me just kind of read this because I know that we're going to get into this. So I wanted to look up a couple things. I mean, we all know what these things are, what these meanings are, but I still wanted to see kind of what a definition was, just to be more precise about it. Because I think I jump all over the place with peace, joy, and happiness,
Mhm.
and like how much of that is different because we use those words interchangeably. Because,
Mhm.
we always say, I just want my kids to be happy,
Mhm.
or I'm happy if my kids are happy.
Mhm.
And that is true. But out of these three words, that is like the least stable, if that
Right.
makes sense. And it's more emotional and
Yes.
circumstantial.
Yes.
So I want to kind of get away from saying that or thinking that.
Mhm.
But anyway, okay. So peace is more of like a stress free
Mhm.
state of security. So when I looked up this definition, it almost everything I saw related to like war or your country. And
Sure.
so it just talked about, no war, no fighting, harmonious. So it was just like a free state of security and calmness,
Mhm.
which, I like some security and
Mhm.
calmness. Okay. And then joy is a feeling of great happiness or pleasure. So it's long lasting, it's an inner state of contentment.
Yes.
It's a practice and a behavior. Okay. So it's more sustainable, if you will, and it lasts longer. Okay.
Yes.
And it's independent of circumstances.
Yes.
So no matter what's going on, what the circumstance is, if you can still find joy in the bigger things, I think it's the bigger picture where you can be um more content, or you're less stressed. Again,
Mhm.
going to the peace, where it's more harmonious. I think it's the way that we need to look at it, or that I need to look at it. Um, and that needs to be one of my goals. And then happiness, of course, is just like a fleeting emotion
Mhm.
driven by circumstances or events,
Yeah,
which is true.
it is. And I think That's a very good point. I think we all should strive for joy because that comes from within, regardless of
Mhm.
what's going on. And when we say happiness, like you said, that's fleeting. That is something that is dictated by somebody pulled out in front of me today, or I had
Right.
a rough work call, or somebody made me angry in my family. And that is just an emotion. And I'm happy that we have emotions, but
Yeah.
we need to have something inside of us that is sustainable. And for some people, that's religion.
Mhm.
Some people, that's, their family, whatever it is. It could be a myriad of things. But I think that we need to find that joy in the mundane and find that joy on, the sunlight hitting your face in the morning or having a cup of coffee or sitting by a river or whatever that is, because happiness comes and goes.
Yeah, well, and if you're trying to find your purpose, what's the joy in that?
Mhm.
When you're in a state of confusion
Mhm.
and discontentment and, your mind's all over the place and you really don't feel like you have, belonging anywhere,
Yes.
um, it's hard to find the joy in that.
Mhm.
So, that's why it's all interchangeable, like we said earlier, and so we've got to learn how to connect the dots, but also know this dot doesn't necessarily go here
Yeah.
to make this happen,
Yeah.
you know?
And that's all tied to identity too,
Yeah,
because you think about, I'm a mom. Yes, you're a mom. And what you want to do that makes you happy is to see them play baseball or
right,
see them play soccer. Well, when baseball's gone and soccer's gone, what makes you happy?
right.
And so
Or
you,
Christmas morning,
yeah,
you know?
that's a fleeting thing for
Mhm.
sure, because especially nowadays, people are done with their
And
present
it's
in
added stress,
five
honestly, for a
minutes.
lot of people.
It
I
is.
mean, so
It is. And it's very commercialized.
yeah,
And I won't get on my soapbox
yeah.
about that. But, um, you know, at this age, redefine who you are.
Mhm.
So if your identity has always been your career,
Yeah,
I'm guilty of that. If your identity has always been, I'm a mom or I'm a wife, well, when that gets stripped away from you, who are you and what what are you going to do now?
right. Well, and some of us are it's still a little early, but some of us are still getting to the age where it is time to retire, especially,
Mhm.
like, if you're a teacher or, you're at a company where you can retire after 25 years.
Mhm.
Most people start teaching when they're 22, 23 years old.
Mhm.
So you tack on that 25 years, you're 48, 49, 50 years old. You can retire if you want to at that age.
Mhm.
If you start working somewhere when you're 18, right out of high school or 20 years old, and you can retire after 20, even 30 years, you're retiring at 50.
Mhm.
So again, it's like if whether it was a career or being a mom or a dad, what do you do now?
Mhm.
What's my purpose now?
Yeah. Well, and I think finding peace too, not looking in the rearview mirror.
Yes.
And, we're all guilty of that. I'm more guilty of it in some areas,
Mhm.
but I think getting rid of the shoulda, woulda,
Right.
couldas.
And it's
Um,
hard to do.
it is, but there's a reason, and this is very cliche, but it holds true. There is a reason that the windshield is much larger than the rearview mirror.
Mhm.
You need to see where you're going. I say this all the time. I don't have a time machine. I can't control something that happened 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I can't control bad decisions I made, things that people did or said about me or whatever. I can't control any of that. All I can control is what am I going to do with the amount of time that I have left?
Right.
And I often think about the story that you shared on one of our podcasts where you said this man said his parents lived across the country,
Oh,
and he
yeah.
said, "How often do you see him?" And he's like, "Well, I'll see him once or twice a year, maybe around Thanksgiving or Christmas." And he said, "Well, how old are they?" "You're going to see them 15 more times."
Mhm.
And so I think we have to stop looking at the back door and the regret and all those things and think about, what am I going to do with those 15
Right.
times?
Yeah.
Am I going to quit my job and move across the country to be with my family? Or am I going to just make the most of those 15
Right.
visits?
Yeah, good point. So, what are things that make us happy? Like our family being happy, our
Mhm.
friends being happy. For me, having a clean environment. Not this room is not clean right now. I got projects going on, but having a clean environment that makes me happy. I
Mhm.
don't want to walk around in a mess or
Mhm.
be in disarray all the time.
Yes.
And plus, I want my family, and maybe they don't care. I don't know. It's obviously not anything we talk about, but when my family comes home, I want them to have a clean home to come
Mhm.
home to. I want them
Mhm.
to feel comfort, when they're here, or this is a place like when they do visit, it's just a nice place to be.
Yeah.
Sometimes they maybe miss being here, but I want my family to have a clean environment also.
Yes.
Traveling, spa days. I put spa days on here, but I did when I wrote this, it reminded me, I forgot to tell you this. So, you get your nails done all the time. I've never seen you without your nails done. They're done right now. Look at mine.
I try just
Y'all say
because I
they're
travel for work.
yeah, but and we've talked about this before. I just don't like to go every 2 weeks to do anything. So that's
Mhm.
why I don't get my nails done a lot.
Mhm.
But honestly, I don't think I ever told you this. I don't particularly care for manicures.
Mhm.
It's not peaceful for me. I
Mhm.
love a pedicure.
Mhm.
Pedicures are my thing,
Oh, me
and
too.
facials.
My favorite.
But when I go and get manicures, it hurts.
Mhm.
I'm stressed the entire time. I'm so stressed because they mess up my cuticles, and I tell them every time. Now, my cuticles are sensitive, so you'll have to be a little easy, with or go slow when you get to my cuticles. And it's like they say, okay. And it's just gibberish. They don't know
And
what
they
they're
just
saying.
rip your
Yeah. So
cuticle out,
they're getting that little thing and they just keep jabbing it
shoving
up
it.
in there. And I kid you not, I sit there and I'm like holding my breath. I'm thinking, okay, 2 down, 8 to go.
Oh my
4 down, 6
gosh.
to go. I'm getting thinking about it
I say
is
you
like,
don't even need to do it because
it's
that just
getting
stresses you
it
out.
does stress me out. But I get to the point where I have an event or I think my nails are awful. So I'm like, okay, I'll give it another try. But just them they always nick me. Like it never fails and they want to get too close in the nail. Last time I went, the dude nicked me. Okay, and he had to put that stuff on there to stop the bleeding, and I had jerked my finger back because it hurt. That was a sign that maybe you didn't understand me when I told you
Stop
about my
digging it.
cuticles,
Yeah.
but that should be universal. When you jerk back, that hurts. Okay,
Yeah.
then I thought about you when he did this. So at the end they'll give you a massage, an
Uh-huh.
arm massage and hand massage. I don't know if your
Yeah.
manicurist does that.
Sometimes.
Okay. So I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. So he is massaging my hands. Sometimes they will pull your fingers. Mandy, my finger popped.
Mine do every time.
I mean, he pulled this one and it literally popped. And it took everything in me to not start dying laughing because as soon as he did it, I was like, I have got to tell Mandy about this because I know that you love manicure so much. But it literally just popped. I was just like, get me out of here. And I have not gone back for another one. And
That's so
he didn't even
funny.
get all the gel off. So for weeks, I've just been like, I'll touch my nails and I know I'm going off a tangent here. I'm about to wrap it up. Long story short. So I can feel the gel stuff on here and I'm like, it's just going to have to stay.
Oh my
I
gosh,
mean,
that's so
it's just going
funny.
to have to stay. So that
Well,
looks
for
so
what it's
bad.
worth, and I'm not
Oh
just
my
saying
gosh.
this, it's funny that you brought that up because my nails are like paper. And that's one reason but I went for years and years and years and didn't get them done. Like I've only
Me
been
either.
doing them just the last couple of years because I've
Yeah.
been on the road
Yeah.
so much. And I don't want to go to
But
a client and point at a contract or something
right.
with this old wrinkly looking
Our grown
thing.
out
Yeah,
cuticles
it's
like mine.
ugh. But I have always admired your nails.
Thank
Always.
you.
They're strong,
Yeah.
they're so pretty, and mine look like,
Well, you don't have your glasses on right now.
no.
But, yeah, thank you for saying that because when I was younger, I did have good nails,
You
and I
did.
always got complimented on my
Yes.
nails and my
Yes.
hair. Now they're
Yes.
both going to shit, but I think my hair's thinning. But, yeah, every time I go, I end up regretting it, and I say, "I'm never going back," because it just stresses me out to get a manicure.
That's so funny.
My eyes
Well,
are watering.
don't that's finding your
Ugh.
peace. Don't do things that
Exactly.
stress you
That is
out.
right.
Yes.
That's right. So, I've decided I'm not going back to get my nails done again until right before the wedding, and then I'll tough it out, for
You go to
get
my person before the wedding.
I'm telling you, it doesn't matter where I go. They don't understand me enough to
No, I will
say.
tell them.
I mean, even the jerk back, he knows.
No,
Anyway,
I will tell my guy.
okay.
So, oh my
Anyway,
Lord.
I'm burning up
Okay.
thinking about it.
We have got to take a
Oh,
stress break here because
where
she is so
yeah, let me
stressed
get a
out.
sip. Sip of my
Um,
margarita. I'll
well,
continue.
speaking of like clean house and all that, so one of mine was declutter your home and your calendar. For
That's a good one.
me, it's like saying no more often
Yeah,
without over explaining.
yeah,
That gives you peace. You're stressed out, and I'm talking about myself. You're so stressed out because you overcommit and then you don't want to tell anybody no. And some of it is you don't want to say no because you really want to do it.
yeah, sure.
But your body needs the rest. You
Yeah,
really need to rest and recover.
yeah,
And I'm guilty of overpacking my schedule.
right.
I don't see that changing anytime soon, but I need to start really picking and choosing the things that I want to do and not just out of obligation. And when I say no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be able to do it, don't feel guilty and
Yeah,
don't over explain because then that just
yeah,
stresses
and
you
it's hard
out.
to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not for some people, but that's always been hard for me is feeling like I need to explain
Yeah,
why. Because you think the other person's thinking, "Ugh, well, why don't you want to do anything? Or what's wrong with you?" And it's just so stupid to even feel that way, you know?
it is, but we're our own worst enemy.
Yes. Um, what else? So, like joy, we were talking about earlier, independent of the circumstances. It's because you're looking at the bigger picture, right?
Mhm.
So, there's always going to be bumps in the road. There's always going to be things that we have to deal with. Life hits you in the face
Mhm.
over and over and over.
Yep.
So it's not going to be perfect. But I think if you can just get through the moment, get through the season, and look at the bigger picture, and wisdom comes with that. The older we
Yes.
are, you'll get to the other side of it.
Mhm.
But I think just having that joy and being grateful for everything else that you have that's
Yeah.
in your life, the
Yes.
people, the things you have, the home, a job, your family, your friends, your health,
Mhm.
being
Yep.
joyful over the things that really matter.
Yeah. Agreed. And reconnecting with people that matter to you.
Mhm.
Um, I know we've talked about you and I lived in the same town and would barely see each
Yeah.
other, and we might shoot a text here and there, but we have been very intentional. And so I think being intentional with things that bring you joy and people that bring you joy
Yeah.
and not you reconnecting with your body too.
Mhm.
So if it feels good to you to go for a walk in the sunshine, go do it.
Yeah.
If it feels good to eat a piece of dessert, do that. If it feels good to go to the gym, whatever it is for you, but reconnecting to your body and listening to your body.
Mhm.
What is making my heart rate go up?
Yeah.
Getting a manicure,
Yeah.
no, nix it,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
But what makes me feel good? Okay, sitting out on my patio and listening to the birds or
Mhm.
whatever that looks like for you. Um, Going out of town, trying new things,
Yeah.
eating at new restaurants, whatever it is, reconnecting with what makes you happy and reconnecting with your body.
Yeah.
You can tell if your heart's pounding out of your chest, if you're breathing fast, your hands are sweaty.
Mhm.
You can tell this is not something that really makes me happy. And sometimes we have to push ourselves outside of our comfort zone, but I just mean in general.
Yeah. And that changes the older that you get.
Yeah.
Obviously, when we were 20, sitting outside listening to the birds was not going to
No.
be relaxing for us.
No.
So it's part of the journey on where are you now?
Mhm.
Are you in your 50s? Are you in your 30s? I think anyone of any age, I don't want to say struggles to find their peace, but we all have this peace that we need to find within
Yeah.
ourselves through the different stages of life.
And I
So,
think being 50, you're more comfortable in your
for
skin to
sure.
be able to say, I do enjoy sitting outside listening
Yeah.
to the birds. Maybe a 30-year-old does, but they would never say it.
Yeah.
So pretending to be somebody that you're
So you're
not,
telling me when you were 30 that you wanted to sit
I do
outside and
not
listen to
think it was me. I do not think so. But I can say there might be some
There may
30-year-olds,
be.
but
Yes.
that they wouldn't wanna be labeled as lame or
Right.
old woman or whatever, so they would, go along with what their friends wanted to
Yeah.
do and say, "Oh, yeah, this is awesome," when really they're the ones with the sweaty palms and the
Right.
heartbeat.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Um, so peace, accepting the circumstances, accepting the person, accepting your purpose. So to me, clearly, it's about acceptance. My peace is accepting the circumstance, the person, and my purpose.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
It does, and I would say accepting goes back to the serenity prayer,
Yeah.
accepting the things that you can change
Mhm.
or can't change and changing the things that you can. And so you mentioned having a clean home. Well, if that makes you happy, that's within your
Right.
control.
Right.
And so as long as you're not sick or had surgery, well, then that's something you
Yeah.
can do and that makes you happy and feel fulfilled.
Right. Because something like that, it may seem tedious, but when you're younger and you have younger children and your schedule's busier, it's harder to keep
Mhm.
a more organized home or a cleaner home. It just is what it is. I've been there, done that, so I'm not saying anything to anybody about it. But I still always wanted a clean home.
Mhm.
That's just always been me. I just like my stuff clean, but, I mean, have I always had a clean house or a clean car? No,
Oh gosh, me neither.
and it brought me stress.
Yeah, it did. And I will say too, the older I get, I realize I don't want to spend all day Saturday
Right.
cleaning. Unfortunately, sometimes it's that way.
Right,
But if I can do a little bit every night or something, then maybe it's not so bad.
right.
But I think a clean environment and it's kind of more organized and you know where things are, it is less stressful.
Mhm. Well, and it's more pleasing to the eye, and, that's with anything, with food, with your appearance, with a home, so, that just is kind of another sensory issue for me, but, something important that I thought about was peace comes with boundaries,
Hmm.
and I don't know if I've ever given it too much thought, but maybe when I look at being in a peaceful state of mind, again, it's that harmonious,
Hmm.
there's no conflict. It would never jump out to me, "Oh," but it comes with boundaries,
Hmm.
and it's not just the boundaries that you give, but you have to accept the boundaries that other people have.
Hmm.
Again, the two-way street that I always harp on. It's always a two-way street, and I've said on here before, and I've told you before, I don't do any more one-way streets. It's always gonna be a two-way street, so sometimes that means looking at the other side or looking
Hmm.
at the other person's view, whether you agree or disagree.
Hmm.
We all like say, well, yep, I've decided I'm moving on and this is my boundary. And, we kind of, puff out our chest about what
Hmm.
boundaries we've set for these other people.
Yep.
But we have to also accept the boundaries that other people have set,
Hmm.
whether it's directly related to us or indirectly related to us. And sometimes that may be a hard pill to swallow
Mhm.
because there's always another side of the story. Okay, maybe you've set boundaries, but maybe the other person has too. So, you don't want them coming at you, puffing out their chest, talking about what boundaries they've made. Everybody has to do what's good for themselves. And
Yeah.
so, just like, with my kids, I'm pretty sure that there's a boundary there where I just can't show up at Blake and Ashley's, without a phone call or without an invitation or
Mhm.
without some sort of acknowledgement beforehand or even Brooklyn's home.
Mhm.
I can't just show up there unannounced and walk in and expect everything to be fine.
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying? That's
Yeah.
just an example. So, as much as I miss my children and would love to see them every day and every night and us always hang out and it be kumbaya, I have to understand that there's a boundary that I just can't show up at their home whenever I want to.
Yes, and I think that that's a part of being respectful
Yeah,
of their autonomy and them growing up and having their own lives. And I will say, and I'm going to step on some toes here, and I'm okay with it. You guys can, let me have it if you want to. But there is a whole movement now with young people, and their boundaries are their God. And so they say, well, I had to cut off my parents because they're toxic or they're narcissist. Okay. I believe that that is the case in very few situations.
agreed.
I believe that people are taught that whatever you feel like that day, that's what you've got to cut all these people out of your
Mhm.
life. Well, I'm not down with that. And I think there's a lot of young people that are going to grow up with a lot of regret because
Absolutely.
they've cut people out of their lives that they labeled as toxic because they didn't loan you
Yeah,
$5,000 to do XYZ. And that's not really the case.
right.
And you've cut everybody out of your life to protect your peace,
Mhm.
and what you're really doing is isolating yourself, and you've got to learn to be a big boy or a big girl and deal with issues head on
Yeah,
and have conversations and not just wall everybody off to protect your
right.
peace. That's a very immature way to look
Yeah,
at life, and we've got a whole generation doing it.
and it's sad that you've got people surrounding you, those that do that, justifying the
Yes.
actions.
Yes.
It's almost like it's a cool thing to do.
Yes, it is. And there are situations,
Sure.
please hear me.
Sure.
There are situations that were abusive, and I mean
Absolutely.
physically, sexually, whatever that is. I've heard of, you know, parents stealing money from their
Yeah,
children or using their social security number to make fake accounts or whatever. There are justifiable reasons to cut people out of your life, but also, I think you should try and attempt to make peace
right.
with other people and not just build a wall and isolate yourself.
Agreed. Agreed. I think also it's important to remember your roots. And maybe this is just me being sentimental right now because one of my projects that I've been working on is going through old boxes and trying to separate and get everything organized. So I've tried to put Brooklyn's boxes together and Blake's boxes together and Will's boxes. So it will be, some of their school stuff or things from when they were younger or pictures that maybe just involved Brooklyn or Blake or Will or whatever. And then I've got, boxes that they'll just all three have to go through at some point in life where whoever wants what's in it can get in it. So I've had so much fun going through all of that,
Mhm.
but it's reminding me because I found a lot of my stuff too. I even found some stuff from you the other day and some others, school friends that we both know, like the letters and the cards and homecoming corsages and just
Mhm.
the whole array, old pictures that I'd forgotten about, the
Mhm.
artwork that your kids make. So, I think that with me being a very nostalgic person, It's that stuff's always been important to me. I've
Mhm.
always been like that, so it's always going to touch me maybe differently than it does other people. But for me, remembering your roots. So that can mean, are you continuing the cycle or breaking the cycle? And so I said that basically for like what you were just talking about.
Mhm.
Yeah, remembering where you come from is not always good for some people.
Mhm.
They might not want to. They
Yeah.
may want to forget that and move on. But there are some of us that do enjoy
Yeah.
where we come from and our home life and how things were growing up. So again, you can choose to either continue the cycle or you break the cycle. That's up to you on what
Yeah.
you want to do. But, I had great role models in my family and my home. We lived in a modest home. I mean, you remember where we lived. So, but it also showed me that we always had what we needed.
Mhm.
And I've talked about that before. I found a lot of old letters and cards from old friends at church. And I may have mentioned this before on here. I don't know. I may repeat myself on here, but I have a friend that wrote out something for me like on a slip of paper. And I always saved it and I found it the other day. But it was back years ago, and you would have known what I was going through, where, I was also big into church at the time,
Mhm.
and so I was just dealing with a lot of shame and regret and all that that entails,
Mhm.
and I think I kept saying, "If I get my life together," "Well, if I ever get my life
Right.
together, then blah, blah, blah." And so it was almost just like a kind of like a scrap piece of paper, but she wrote something like, "Not if you not if you get your life together, when you get your life together." That's all she wrote on there. It wasn't to Lisa from so and so.
Mhm.
It just was that reminder. And
Mhm.
I always kept it for a long time. I had it out in my house, like beside my computer.
Mhm.
And then I had saved it. So I found that in a box the other day. But again, the nostalgia is twofold for me. It does bring me peace
Mhm.
because it is who I am.
Mhm.
And all of those life circumstances is what made me who I am. But it,
Mhm.
it also brings a sadness. It's
Sure.
so strange that, obviously I'm sad when I talk about my grandparents. I'm sad that my kids aren't little anymore.
Mhm.
I'm sad that, life isn't more simple, that we don't write letters anymore and
Mhm.
we don't call each other and you hear the landline, phone ring and it's everything's written on the computer instead of
Mhm.
like my notes are handwritten. I don't
Mhm.
write my notes on a computer and print them out.
Mhm.
Um so it brings me sadness.
Yeah.
All of that does because it's what once was
Mhm.
that I wish was still.
Yeah.
But I do have peace, remembering all of that,
Yeah.
and it does bring me pleasure to see all of it, but it's just so strange that it can also make you a little sad too.
Stir up feelings,
Yeah.
sure. Well, one of my points was kind of revisit old joys. And so, yes, remembering things, but also a lot of people in their 50s, they might pick up an instrument because it's
Yeah.
something that they did when they were little or they were in middle school. They remember, like, oh, I loved that. I loved playing the trumpet or whatever. So
Yeah.
they start doing it. Or maybe you enjoyed before you grew up and got married and had kids and were so busy with a career. Maybe you enjoyed painting. And so a lot of people pick up painting again
Mhm.
and they have a creative outlet. I mean, some old biddies create podcasts and talk on the couch and drink margaritas. But
That's one of my dreams I wrote down to be a famous podcast host.
that's so
We can
funny.
dream big.
We can. But I think revisiting old things that brought you joy,
Yeah.
whatever that looks
Yeah.
like. But a lot of people rediscover their passions
Yeah.
when they remember, God, I love the way I used to feel when I painted, or I love the way I used to feel when I was a singer, or whatever that is. Nobody wants me singing. I can say that.
Same.
But trying things in your 50s too
Yeah,
that you don't have to be good at it, and that's part of my problem. I don't like to do things if I'm not good at it.
yeah,
I don't like to fail.
right,
Um, but I think, for example, if I wanted to take up a specialty kind of cooking or baking or something, you don't have to be perfect. If it
right.
makes you feel good and
Yeah,
it's a creative outlet,
right.
try it. I
Yeah,
mean, you're 50. Who are you trying to impress?
right. And it's a healthy way to spend your time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I think one important thing, it's kind of funny, it's kind of not, but going through all of the nostalgic things, that make me happy. It was even like the 8 to 5 job and coming home with the chores. Again, I think it was just about nobody ever rushed home and thought, "Oh, I gotta get on Facebook,"
Mhm.
or, "Oh, let me, get on social media," or, "Let me play Candy Crush," or
Mhm.
whatever. It was you had to get home to watch your show maybe, but, you worked your 8 to 5 and you came home and did whatever you did with the kids, and then you s you know, got something together for dinner and you sat
Mhm.
down and maybe watched a sitcom or 2, and then you just went to bed. So those are the things that I miss, and maybe I'm, like, in the minority in that. I really feel, though, like people our age and older do start to miss those kind of things.
Yeah.
Even though we are glued to our phones a lot,
Mhm.
I still think that we do miss that, and I said this last year that I was gonna try to shy away from all that, and I have been, but that's something I wanted to do.
Mhm.
I don't care what anybody else does, but for me, I found myself thinking, "Mm, you cannot be serious right now that I have seriously scrolled on Facebook for 2 hours.
Mhm.
Like, what a waste of time. I have laid
Mhm.
here for 2 hours and scrolled through Facebook, and it brought me like, what did it do for my life?
Mhm.
Especially now at the point where most of it's not even what I'm seeing my friends post. It's like these sponsor pages. It's just
Yes.
nonsense. Like, I still don't even know what I was looking at when I was going through it, but I can't get into all that. But I think part of also finding peace is back then, I was not fearful over anything. I didn't
Mhm.
worry about things of the world. I worried about my kids in a totally different way. I didn't worry about death. I wasn't morbid. It wasn't like now where I think, okay, we've got to get this in order, or I've got to talk to my parents about this, or in my 50s. Like, I'll be lucky if I, live another 20 years or 30 years. And you don't think about that when you're in your 20s or 30s, and
Right.
at least I didn't, and I'm not even gonna say that that's being naive. I think it's just being young, and thank God I didn't worry about all of that back then. I mean, I guess I could have made some better choices, like, on savings or, I don't know, getting life insurance when I was 25, but the freedom of not having to worry
Mhm.
all the time is very peaceful for me. I mean,
It
that is a
is.
lot of my peace, not worrying.
Mhm. Well, I think when we're young, we think we're
Yeah,
invincible
for sure.
and nothing is ever gonna happen. And we don't sit there and think about our parents
No.
or anybody else in our family
Well, you
either.
also think that you have plenty of time
Mhm.
for whatever.
Yeah.
So if something happens, oh, I've got plenty of time to fix that, or I've got plenty of time to save for that, or I can do that when I'm older. And you just you don't think about the end as much.
Yeah.
And that's just something that hits home with me. And I don't know that
Yeah.
everybody, even in their 50s, thinks about it. These are just my issues. But
Yeah.
I do find myself a lot thinking, like, when I think about Jeffrey and me, I'm like, oh my gosh, so if we decide to stay here and we don't move, let's say we wait a little bit longer and then we move in 5 years, where then we're gonna be like 50, 57 and 56, and then, our kids already be this, and then we won't be able to hardly get around if we wait, this long to go here. And I'm kind of like mapping out this timeline of what
Mhm.
can't be or what's going to be too
Yeah.
late, because I feel the clock ticking. I hear the clock
Mhm.
ticking.
And it's
And
all
it's
arbitrary.
it
We don't know.
consumes my mind,
Mhm.
and then sometimes I'm like, "Lisa, you're 50. If you're blessed enough to live as long as your grandparents did,
Mhm.
my paternal grandparents, I've got another 30 years, 30 plus years.
Mhm.
If I think back 30 years ago, I was 22 years old. That seems like a lifetime ago. So I'm trying to remind myself if I'm fortunate enough to live that long, I've still got time to do all of this other stuff and not stress about it and
Yeah.
just live day by day.
Yes, I think that comparison is the
Yeah.
thief of
Mhm.
joy, and I think worry
Yeah,
is
for
the
sure.
thief of joy because I could leave here tonight and
Mhm.
get killed in a car wreck. And all that worry that I've done about what am I going to do with my retirement when I'm 80 years old, because I'm going to be working until then. I mean, honestly,
Yeah.
what good did that do me? You can't borrow
Right.
tomorrow's joy with today's memories
Right.
or
Yeah.
worries.
Yeah.
And so I think that again, we talked about the wrong relationships and people going off the rails and cutting people off. I think we have to strengthen the right relationships.
Sure.
And you don't have to, setting boundaries, normal boundaries, not crazy
Yeah.
boundaries, but you have to be with those that give you energy and that give you love and positivity and let you be yourself.
Right.
You don't need to be around people that you have to be performative, that you're afraid if they know the real you, they won't
Yeah.
like you, and not be around people that drain the life out of you.
Sure.
And that's a
'Cause not
difficult
everyone's a good
balance.
fit, and
No.
it doesn't have to be an intimate relationship.
No.
Just girls hanging out with girls or guys hanging out with guys. If someone is draining to you or
Yeah.
is just not a good fit for you to be around, you don't have to be around
Yeah.
them.
You don't.
They're probably fine with it too. They
Yeah.
may think the same thing about you for different reasons. Some
Mhm.
people just don't mesh, and
Yeah.
it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, it is.
Um, but, kinda going back to finding your purpose is maybe rethinking, like what you said, some of those dreams
Mhm.
or hopes, things that you think might be neat to do. And I know sometimes those things can be kind of out of the realm of possibility. I mean,
Mhm.
listen, I'm not going to be as I say like one of my hopes and dreams would be on like a Dancing with the Stars
Yeah.
contestant because I'm so obsessed with that show. Am I going to be? No, because I'm not. Well, no,
Well,
because
we'll see about that.
send in a good a
Yeah.
good, email for me. But, like, those things aren't gonna happen. But things that I might could make happen is I've always a lot of people don't know this about me, but I've always wanted to write a book.
Mhm.
Jeffrey knows this about me, and
I
he
know this about
he
you.
used to say all the time, kinda nudge me to do it, and I finally just got I think I said enough things to him to where he doesn't say it anymore, but and I don't know why I've always wanted to do that because I'm not a particularly good writer. I'm not super articulate. I don't like I'm not a creative person. So, you know, the idea of like kind of coming up with this story or this plot to write a book on is it's really not me,
Mhm.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense, but I think it's just something that, I don't know, for whatever reason, I've always wanted to do, and I actually started on it
Mhm.
about 2, maybe 3 years ago, um, and I think about revisiting it sometimes, and then I just don't. I think I tell myself, "Lisa, you got other projects going on, so this is going to be a very time-consuming
Mhm.
thing for you.
Mhm.
Have you got the time to do it? Are you really willing to put in the effort to
Yeah.
get this done?" And then, of course, it's, can you do it? Are
Mhm.
you really gonna be able to
Sure.
write up something and that people wanna read?
Yeah.
Because you gotta have a little confidence in yourself saying, "I can put something out there that people might find interesting."
Well, I will say this. Number 1, that's a fear of failure.
Oh, for
holding you
sure.
back.
Yeah.
Number 2, what if we're not successful with this? Does that mean it wasn't worth it? We
Right.
talked about this last
Yeah.
week. We said, this is our love letter to ourselves.
Right.
Maybe it's your mountain to climb.
Right.
But I mean, I think that that's important. And just because you're in your 50s, guess what? You're going to be 60 if you live long enough.
Right.
You're going to be 60. Do you want to be 60 as an author? And
Right.
say that you've written a book, or maybe go back to school and get a degree, whatever it is for
Yeah.
you. Maybe it's, I want to go to Italy. Well, now's not the time. I've
Yeah.
got this going on at work and I really don't have the extra money, whatever. Guess what? I'm going to be 60 one day if I live long enough. Do I want to be 60 and have traveled to Italy?
Yeah.
Because again, I'm not saying be completely reckless with your money and your time. I'm not saying that. But we let so much stuff hold us back. And maybe I'll work a little extra and pay for that trip.
Right.
Like I think we limit ourselves so much, and it feels good to be accomplished and to
Right.
stick your neck out.
Well, and to finish something that you started.
Yeah, which I struggle with
Me too. I
on a
mean,
lot of different levels. And there's
same.
other things that
Same.
I'm gonna do it because I'm very determined.
Yeah.
But then there's other things, it's that self-doubt, and
Right.
it's like, "Ugh, I really can't do this. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. I don't have the
Mhm.
energy." And those are some regrets for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. I guess it's weighing out the regrets on the things that you did
Yeah,
and the regrets on the things that you didn't do.
yeah, yeah. And I think that that's only a question
Yeah.
that you can answer. Is the juice worth the squeeze?
That's right.
And I say it all the time at work, thinking about, should we change this or should we do that? Is the juice worth the squeeze?
Right.
And if it's not worth the effort, then maybe don't do it. But if it's something that's going to nag you, and you're 60 years old and you're going to look back with even more regret that you didn't take that chance, you didn't take that trip, you didn't write that book, you didn't reach out to that person that you
Yeah.
haven't talked to in years, you don't take that step, then is the pain of regret going to be worse than the pain of you trying?
Right.
So that's
It's
tough.
definitely something to think about. I've only got one thing to close on, so if you've got anything else that you want to throw out there.
I've just got one more thing to tag on. It's, that accepting change.
Mhm.
So, like you talked about at the very beginning, don't fight it. And even though your role is changed and the circumstances have
Yeah.
changed, don't fight who you are in the process.
Well, and some things you just can't control the change, others you can.
Yeah.
And, being an empty nester, that's not going to change, and
Yeah.
I shouldn't want that to change.
Yeah.
That's the whole purpose of raising our children, to be able to go out into the wild
Yeah.
and fend for themselves, and do what they need to do. So I should look at that more of an accomplishment on my part, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Theirs too, but let's for the mamas to give themselves a pat on the back too. But I'll just personally close with this, because I've been saying this a lot lately. But I always say, we both do. Time is a thief,
Mm-hmm.
and it really is.
Yeah.
But just me reflecting on everything, I also realized that time is a thief, but it's also a blessing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the time that we need, it gets us through to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
The time gets us to from point A to point B. Time heals. Time gives us another day, and it
Yeah.
gives us another chance.
Yeah.
And so I can sit here and complain all day long about being in my 50s, or my body feeling this way, or whatever the case is. But if I had to choose whether or not this was my last day on this earth or not, it absolutely would not be.
Mm-hmm.
So I have got to start being more thankful and
Yeah.
finding the joy in still being on this earth
Yeah.
at 52 years old, and hoping that I get to live as long as my grandparents in their 80s.
Yeah.
I'm going to hurt a lot more physically and probably emotionally and mentally.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, that's really what I want. I want to be here as long as I possibly can. I don't want to miss out on anything. I don't want to miss out on an event with my friends and my family. I just don't want to miss out on anything. I
Mhm.
want to always be here. So I've got to start being grateful for the time that's ahead,
Yeah.
appreciating the time that has passed,
Yep.
the time that's elapsed, and being thankful for having those moments and those memories and just looking forward to what's ahead.
Yeah. And evolve into who you're supposed to
Yes.
be at this phase of your life. And, you know, it's hard to do sometimes, but evolving into who you're meant to be in your 50s,
Mhm.
and that may look different than your 40s. It may look different than what you'll be in your 60s.
Right.
But just appreciating who you have around you, what you have around you, and I think we just keep plugging 44 years strong.
I'm trying to not laugh because since I've mentioned this, I'm sitting here. I haven't moved since we've been on this couch. I don't know how long we've been going, an hour, and my leg is throbbing.
I've
I've
had
not wanted to move because I didn't want this couch to creak. But speaking of aches and pains,
yes,
my leg. Sorry,
yes.
y'all. I've got to adjust.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I've been
So
moving my legs back and forth over here.
oh, I feel so much better.
Oh,
Okay.
well, it's been a great episode.
Yeah, it has.
Lots and lots of discussion, and I love that we are just always on the same
And
page.
I actually enjoy having these kind of conversations. Stuff like this, I really like to hear other people's thoughts and opinions.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those issues that I think everybody can relate to.
Mhm.
And we could talk for hours on this. I
Yeah.
could sit on the couch with anybody and just, bring it on and just share all the ideas and thoughts. I love this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I've
Fantastic.
enjoyed it.
Great episode.
Yep.
See you
All right.
next
We'll
week.
see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye.